Today I want to talk about one fundamental tip or idea that if you introduce can dramatically increase the engagement of your paintings. Hi, Ian Roberts and welcome to Mastering Composition. When we're painting light. And the bigger the difference between the light and the dark, between the light and the shadow, the more dramatic the painting, and almost always the more engaging. How you design the big value masses, those big shapes of light and dark on your canvas is fundamental to strong composition. I'll show you with a couple of examples. Imagine setting up a still life like this, and we have overhead lights and windows on the left and the right, and it's killing all the contrast of light and dark, of the sense of drama, and also the sense of form, how the light actually carves around an object so that we know what it looks like. Now suppose we close off all the lights in the windows and we just have one light source. Now we have drama. Now we have big shapes of light and dark. And then let's say we crop it like this. Now the right-hand edges of the hydrangea and the onion are lost. Now we're thinking big value masses, big shapes, and the engagement of those shapes on your canvas or your paper, on your picture plane. And you can see that we're moving away from subject matter, just some things, objects on a desk. We're moving away from that and we're starting to think about enhancing the idea of design. And that is central to composition. And this also works with landscapes and figures. The sun is a single light source, and that crafts the big shapes of light and dark, particularly in the early morning and the late afternoon light. And this is the image I'm going to paint this week. So let's take a second to look at both the structure and the design of the composition before we begin to paint. So you can see that there's a line here, another one here, and a great vertical there, and then that's going to be my center of interest. So there's the structure, and you can see how it's engaging the picture plane. And then if we completely simplify it into three values, you can see how that same structure lines up with these big simple values, much simpler than I'm going to paint it, but it's kind of the structure and the design of what I have in mind. So usually, or very often, I'll do a drawing like this before I begin because I find it really quiet and meditative. I really enjoy it actually, but it really forces me to think in terms of the big value shapes, simplifying them. You know, like color gets the attention, value does all the work, and we're thinking in terms of this whole idea of big value masses. I'll actually be teaching my course, my online course on how to use drawing to master composition in the new year because students find it really helpful to figure this out, these big simple shapes, before beginning to paint. Here you can just see following the form of the object in order to give that sense of the form and that sense of overlap and what are the relationships of these big value masses simplified that are going to make up the painting. You learn so much by doing this before beginning to paint. And that whole mass of shadow there is just one big simple shape first. And then there's nuances to that of half light within it. And then this whole idea of gradating to kind of push us into the drawing. And there's the finished drawing. And it really has given a sense of, okay, I see what my big masses are. I'm seeing in terms of big masses of light and dark. I know where I'm going. And that's how I get ready to paint. So with that in mind, then I start doing the mixing. And the first color I'm choosing is the background lit side of the wall because it's kind of a gray. It needs to be a warm gray. So I'm getting some orange and some yellow ochre in there. But I'm just testing this color. It's a bit warm. And so I blew it out a little bit. But I just want to test the color there to sort of see, okay, that's working. And then I'm going to test the color for the shadow side of the wall, make sure that relationship is working. So I'm keying these first three colors to make sure that I've got the right value relationships before I begin. So there's the shadow side of the wall, and I just put it in, and it seems, okay, That seems like a good relationship, warm to cool for the shadow. And then I'm just going to get the shadow side of the hydrangea. It'll be the same value pretty much as the wall color if you look at the photograph. But you can see it's a little intense here, so I mix some, get a little bit, but I just mix a little bit of the other color in there. And just, you see it's the same value, but it's obviously a different color. And once I've got that established and I realize, okay, I can live with that, then I just block in the background. Big, simple shape, just put it all in there. And as you can see, I'm going right over the vase. It's like there's very little, if you look at it, that's delineating the vase. It's a little darker on that side, so I'm putting that in. Then now I'm mixing the wall color, but a darker version of it that'll be the gradation, like I had in the drawing at the top, just to sort of push our attention down into the painting. I'll sort of clean that up later as I go. And then this is the second hydrangea, which is a lighter color, right? It's just a lighter hydrangea, more pink than purple. And then this is the first color of the shadowed side of the foliage, the stuff that's in the shadow. So you can still see it's obviously a green, but when it goes in, you can see it's very dark. And then this is just as that dark starts to turn, we're getting a little bit more of a sense of green as it turns before it actually hits the light. So there's sort of the sense of that green turning. And then this is the lit side of the hydrangea. And it's quite light. And again, just simple shape, right? So far, just simple shapes. Nothing fancy. Shape, shape, shape. Sort of a few little touches there to sort of create some change, creating a couple of shadows on that side. And then I'm making it a little darker on the background just to pop the flower to make sure we see it. And then this is the lit side of the stems and the foliage, just the few little places where the light is actually hitting it. Just a few simple shapes, and then we're on to the next thing. It's all very simply done. And then you can see I'm just putting in a little bit of dark on that side, a tiny thin little line on that side, clean up that little sort of oval, tiny little line at the top, and that's all it's delineating the jar or the vase. Then a lit side and a dark side on the tablecloth, the shadow and then the light, and then I've got it gradated at the bottom to push our attention up into the painting. And then now I'm going to start on the purple of the onion. So I'm getting a really rich dark purple for the shadow side. And you'll see I'll just sort of be putting that simple shape in there, very dark. I think I may actually lighten that up as I go. And then there's sort of a transition color as it moves around into the light, and then the lit side. So there's really just three values there, and you've already got the sense of it. And here's the same with this one. And then a little bit of sort of highlight, and then a couple of adjustments to it. And then this big shadow shape like I did in the drawing, and then where it gets really dark underneath the cloth, this shift in the value where the light is kind of coming through the cloth there. And then you'll notice that the general value of the cloth is quite dark. This is the lit side. I want to reserve the lights, the really light part, so that I've got something quite light. So most of that is pretty dark. This is the lit side. I don't want it too light, but then that's where the light's really hitting along the edge there. I want us to see that, but there's not very much of it. And then these are the little cherries, just a few little touches. I don't want a lot of attention there, just a few little touches to give us the sense of the pattern. And then I've been painting now for about an hour and a half. I'll just stop and have a look at the whole thing, see what needs to be adjusted. We're getting some glare on it now, so you're not seeing it exactly the way that I'm seeing it. But then I'll just see what adjustments I need to make, and then I'll show you the finished painting. And there's the finished painting. There's some glare on it, so it's making the painting look a little edgier than it actually does in life. But I wanted to take you through the whole process of thinking about structure, design, and the big value masses, the drama, engagement of the big value masses, and take you through that whole process of thinking structure, design, perhaps a drawing, and then thinking in those terms in terms of doing the painting. So I hope you found that helpful. If these ideas of value and design seem helpful to you, I have a free 20-minute video on the 4 fundamental principles of creating better paintings, which is really an overview of this whole idea of what composition, the role composition is playing in your paintings. And you can go to ianroberts.com and you can sign up there, and you'll also get 1 email a month with the next YouTube video. And the next video is November 1st. So until then, I hope your artistic journey is rich and fruitful. All the very best, and bye for now.